You did it. You bought the dream, keys in hand, fresh tires. Everything looks perfect. But what if I told you the biggest problems don't show up at the dealership? They show up on your first trip. When you're 3 hours from home, the fridge stops working, the water tank overflows, and your electrical panel starts flashing like a slot machine. Because here's the brutal truth. New RVs are easier to break than anyone tells you. And most of the damage? It starts with rookie mistakes, small actions that snowball into massive repairs, ruined vacations, and sometimes total breakdowns that could have been avoided with a 2-minute check. We're talking cracked slide motors from uneven leveling, fried circuit boards from skipping one $30 part, black tanks that explode, yes, explode, because you assumed the flush button was magic. And worst of all, warranties don't always cover what they call user error. Every year, thousands of RV owners end up with regrets. Some lose thousands. Some give up camping entirely. Why? Because no one warned them about the real risks hiding behind those fancy brochures and polished YouTube walkthroughs. In this video, we're breaking down the 17 most common RV mistakes new owners make and instantly regret. These aren't minor slip-ups. These are the mistakes that kill batteries, flood kitchens, short out panels, and strand people in the middle of nowhere with nothing but regret and a $600 tow bill. And the final mistake? It's so basic, so common, it happens right outside the dealership parking lot, and it could quietly destroy your entire rig before your first trip even begins. Let's start at number 17 with a mistake that could literally blow out your tires before you even hit the highway. At number 17, we're starting with one of the most common and most dangerous mistakes new RV owners make: not adjusting tire pressure based on the actual load you're carrying. You'd be shocked how many people roll out of the driveway using the factory PSI printed on the tire without ever weighing their rig. Here's the hard truth. That number on the sidewall, it's a maximum pressure, not your actual safe setting. And what most new owners don't realize is that RVs aren't like cars. The weight distribution changes constantly. Water tanks, cargo, bikes, full propane bottles, all of that adds up. And if your tires are over or underinflated for your specific load, you're setting yourself up for a blowout. And blowouts in an RV, they're no joke. At 60 miles per hour, a rear tire blowout can cause thousands of dollars in damage. Torn undercarriages, ripped wheel wells, smashed plumbing lines. One family in Utah had a single underinflated tire rupture on the highway. It tore through the wheel arch and shredded their freshwater tank. The total damage? Over $4,800. And the tire pressure? Just 8 too low for their fully loaded rig. It's not just about damage, it's about control. Underinflated tires flex more, heat up faster, and reduce your grip on the road. Overinflated ones reduce your contact patch and can make your RV skittish, especially in rain or high crosswinds. So what's the fix? Simple. Get your RV weighed. Many truck stops offer CAT scales where you can weigh each axle. Then cross-check your tire brand's load inflation chart and adjust accordingly. It might take an hour, but it could save your trip or your life. And if you think tires are risky, wait until we talk about what happens when you flip the wrong switch while driving. Because number 16 is a mistake that can literally light your RV on fire. At number 16, we're covering a mistake that seems harmless until it puts your entire RV at risk of catching fire. That's right, one of the most common habits among new RV owners is leaving the refrigerator running on propane while driving down the highway. And on the surface, it makes sense. You want to keep your food cold. You want that fridge to stay efficient. But here's what no one tells you. This convenient habit can become dangerous in seconds. Propane systems work by igniting a small flame inside the fridge's absorption unit. And when you're driving, that open flame is lit while your RV is moving at highway speeds, often near gas pumps, road debris, or even vapor from other vehicles. If you pull into a gas station or stop at a rest area and forget to shut it off, you've now got a live propane flame burning near explosive fumes. There's a real case where an RVer in Arizona left their propane fridge running during a long drive. Everything was fine until a semi-truck ahead kicked up a chunk of road debris. It smashed into the underside of the RV and ruptured a propane line near the fridge housing. That open flame, it ignited the leak. The fire spread in under a minute. The family made it out, but the RV was a total loss. Insurance ruled it preventable, and they were left holding the bill. The kicker? Many states and campgrounds now recommend or even require you to shut off all propane appliances while driving, and that includes your fridge. So what's the fix? Easy. Use ice packs or frozen water bottles to keep the fridge cold during travel. If you need longer range, consider installing a 12-volt compressor fridge or running it only when you're safely parked. Because the next mistake, it's hiding under the floor, and it can quietly drain your entire power system without you noticing until it's too late. At number 15, we've got a mistake that doesn't explode, doesn't make noise, and doesn't flash warning lights, but it quietly kills your power while you're out in the middle of nowhere. We're talking about blindly trusting the factory battery setup that comes with your RV. Most new owners think it's brand new, everything must be fine. But here's the ugly truth. Factory-installed batteries are often the cheapest, weakest components in the entire rig. Most come with just a single group 24 lead-acid battery, and that's barely enough to power your lights and water pump overnight, let alone run a fridge, furnace, or fans. What's worse, many of these factory batteries are installed incorrectly or hooked up to underwhelming converters that charge them slowly or not at all. Some RVs come with wiring so thin that you lose voltage before it even reaches your appliances. And by the time you notice something's wrong, your batteries are sulfated, useless, and refusing to hold a charge. One first-time RV couple found this out the hard way. After 3 nights of dry camping, their lights dimmed, their furnace quit, and their water pump sputtered to a stop. When they got the rig checked, the dealer admitted the battery was already failing, just 4 months after purchase. Why? It had been discharged too deeply, too often, without proper charging. The fix? Upgrade early. Swap the stock battery for a pair of deep cycle AGMs or lithium units. Install a battery monitor so you can actually see what's happening with your power levels. And if you plan to boondock, invest in solar or a DC-DC charger that can replenish your batteries efficiently while driving. Because the next mistake, it involves your slide outs. And if you don't level properly first, you could destroy the whole system. At number 14, we're tackling a mistake that's way too easy to make when you're in a rush, extending your slide outs before leveling your RV. It seems harmless. You pull into the site, the kids are hungry, and you just want to get the rig opened up. So you hit the slide button. But if the RV isn't level, you could be twisting the entire frame and slowly tearing your slide system apart. Here's what most new owners don't realize. RVs are designed to be leveled before the slides go out. When you're parked unevenly, the chassis flexes slightly. It might not be visible to your eye, but those little stress points affect how the slide tracks align with the walls. And when the system tries to extend or retract under tension, that's where problems begin. Motors strain, gears grind, seals stretch and tear, and over time, your slide can start pulling away from the wall, causing leaks, insulation gaps, and in some cases, total mechanical failure. One owner admitted to skipping leveling just this once on a quick overnight stop. The next morning, the slide wouldn't retract. A mobile tech found the frame had torqued just enough to bind the gear system. Cost to repair, $1,300, and 3 days stuck at the campground waiting on parts. Even auto-leveling systems aren't foolproof if you skip the process or try to eyeball it. Your slides are heavy, some weigh over 800 pounds. That's a lot of stress to put on an unbalanced foundation. The fix is simple. Always level first. Use leveling blocks, jacks, or your automatic system if equipped. Only then should you extend your slide outs. It's a small step that protects some of the most expensive parts of your rig. And coming up next, a packing mistake that doesn't just add weight, it can cause dangerous sway, uneven braking, and blowouts on the highway. At number 13, we're talking about a mistake that doesn't seem like a big deal until your RV starts swaying at 65 miles an hour and you realize you're seconds from losing control. Packing too much weight in the rear of your rig is one of the most overlooked and most dangerous errors new RV owners make. You load up the back with what seems like basic gear, tools, firewood, a generator, maybe a storage bin or two. It makes sense. You want the space up front for living and movement. But here's the problem. Most RVs are not balanced to carry heavy loads in the rear. Add too much back there, and your rig's center of gravity shifts dangerously. Now, every time you turn or brake, that weight tries to swing wide. It causes sway. It stresses your suspension. And on the highway, it can cause the entire trailer or motorhome to fishtail, especially in high winds or when a semi-truck passes. Many rollovers and single-vehicle RV crashes are caused by weight distribution, not bad driving. One new owner loaded their rear bumper with a 200-pound cargo rack carrying gas cans, firewood, and a portable generator. They didn't think much of it until their travel trailer began to sway on a downhill grade. Despite having a weight distribution hitch, the trailer began to drift. A sudden crosswind caused the whole rig to jackknife. No one was injured, but the RV was totaled. What's worse, improper weight balance also affects your tongue weight, braking effectiveness, and tire wear. Over time, you're not just risking safety, you're destroying your suspension and tires from the back forward. The fix? Distribute your cargo over the axles, not behind them. Keep the heaviest items low and centered, and always check your trailer's gross axle weight rating, GUR, before you load. Because the next mistake, it's silent, slow, and smells clean, but it can quietly burn out your water pump in a matter of hours. At number 12, we're exposing a mistake that doesn't come with flashing lights or warning buzzers, but can still quietly burn out your system behind the scenes. It's the habit of leaving your RV's water pump running, assuming it's safe, even when you're not actively using it. Many new RV owners think of the water pump like a faucet. Flip the switch on, and it only runs when needed, right? But here's what actually happens. Your pump maintains pressure in the water lines at all times. That means the moment there's a pinhole leak, a cracked fitting, or a loose clamp, that pump kicks on and stays on, sometimes for hours. And when there's no water source, or worse, an air gap, it starts running dry. That's when the damage starts. RV water pumps aren't designed for continuous use. If they run without water, even briefly, the internal components overheat and wear out. The result? A dead pump, burnt wiring, or even water damage from a leak that never should have happened. One couple on their first week-long trip left their water pump on overnight. A fitting behind the toilet cracked, probably due to pressure from an earlier trip. By the next morning, their bathroom floor was soaked, the subfloor was warped, and the pump had run continuously for nearly 4 hours trying to repressurize the system. That $90 pump failure turned into a $2,300 repair job once the mold and flooring damage set in. The fix is easy. Only turn on your water pump when you need water. If you're dry camping and not actively using the sink, turn it off between uses. And if you're hooked to city water, you don't need it at all. Because the next mistake? It's hiding right above your head, and it only takes one storm to cost you thousands. At number 11, we've got a mistake that creeps in slowly, and by the time you realize it, the damage is already done. Ignoring your RV's roof seals for just a few months can turn a dry, cozy rig into a moldy, rotting nightmare. Here's the harsh truth. Even brand new RVs are vulnerable to water intrusion. The roof isn't a single waterproof sheet, it's a patchwork of vents, antenna mounts, skylights, seams, and sealant. That sealant expands and contracts with heat and cold. It cracks, it shrinks, and eventually it fails. If you don't catch it, water gets in. And unlike a window leak, roof leaks are stealthy. Water doesn't always drip straight down. It wicks through insulation. It travels along wiring. It seeps into ceiling panels, warps cabinetry, and creates the perfect breeding ground for black mold, all without leaving a single stain until it's too late. One RV owner admitted they didn't check their roof for nearly a year. Everything looked fine until the ceiling above the slide started to bubble. When they opened it up, they found soaked wood, a collapsed foam layer, and visible mold. The repair involved tearing out the ceiling and sidewall. $6,100 later, the rig still never felt quite the same. Manufacturers recommend inspecting your roof every 90 days, not just glancing at it, getting up there and checking each seam, vent, and cap. Use a sealant approved for your roof type, EPDM, TPO, or fiberglass, and touch up any cracks before they widen. And don't think, I store it indoors, I'm fine. Temperature changes alone can cause seals to shrink. It's not about weather, it's about time. Because the next mistake, it's not on the roof, it's in your breaker box, and flipping the wrong switch can kill your air conditioner, trip your power, or even start an electrical fire. At number 10, we're getting into a mistake that doesn't look dangerous until your breaker trips, your power surges, and suddenly you're replacing a fried AC unit. Running your RV's air conditioner without checking your power source's amperage limit is one of the fastest ways to overload your system and ruin a perfectly good trip. Here's how it happens. You pull into a campsite, it's hot, you're tired, you plug in, flip on the air, maybe start the microwave, turn on a fan or two, and boom, lights flicker, circuits trip, and suddenly your AC shuts off mid-cycle. You think it's a fluke. But what you don't see is what's happening behind the wall. If you're plugged into 30 amps but using your rig like it's got 50, you're overloading the circuit. And when your AC draws more power than the wiring can handle, the compressor strains. If it happens too often, it can lock up entirely, and the compressor is not cheap. Many owners report replacements costing $1,200 or more, not including labor. Even worse, Some campgrounds don't deliver stable voltage. If you're pulling full amperage from a post that's under-delivering, say dipping below 105 volts, your AC unit is working under stress. That can cause overheating, internal damage, or early system failure. And if you're running a soft start kit or inverter-based AC on a generator, you'd better know your limits or your gear won't last a season. The solution? Always check the amperage rating of your power source before turning on major appliances. Use an EMS, electrical management system, to monitor voltage drops and prevent power surges. And when in doubt, stagger your loads. Don't run the microwave, water heater, and AC at the same time on a 30-amp connection, because the next mistake, it's hiding inside your rig's wiring, and one wrong wire can quietly drain your battery bank, overload your fuses, or worse, spark a fire while you sleep. At number 9, we're digging into a mistake that starts with good intentions, but can end with a melted fuse box, dead batteries, or even an electrical fire. It's the classic DIY overload, where new RV owners install just one more gadget, one more upgrade, one more simple mod, without fully understanding what their system can handle. It starts with small stuff. Maybe you add some LED strip lighting, then a backup camera, a Tizenket Voltos ventilator, a tire pressure monitor, a few USB ports. Suddenly, your battery's draining faster than usual. The lights dim when the furnace kicks on. The water pump sounds weaker, but you push forward because it's probably fine, right? Here's the truth. RV electrical systems are tightly balanced. Every wire gauge, fuse, and circuit was calculated based on factory loads. Add too many accessories, especially ones that draw constant current like inverters, refrigerators, or CPAP machines, and you can overload circuits not designed to handle that extra load. One RV owner installed a second battery and a 2,000-watt inverter to power a full-size coffee maker. The wiring was too thin for the current draw. Within weeks, they had melted insulation on their positive lead, just inches away from the fuse panel. A sharp bump could have caused an arc flash, and the scary part? Their RV had no smoke damage, no early warning. They caught it by smell alone. The fix? Know your amps. Use a multimeter. Learn your panel's limits. If you're adding anything beyond plug-and-play accessories, consult a wiring diagram or a licensed RV tech. And never daisy-chain devices off existing wires unless you know the load capacity. Because the next mistake? It's all about water, but not the kind you drink. It's the kind that silently warps your flooring and ruins your rig's resale value. At number 8, we're calling out a mistake that seems like common sense, but turns into a messy, expensive, and downright disgusting problem over time. It's leaving your gray water valve open while hooked up at a campsite. Sounds logical, right? You've got full sewer. Why not just let the water drain continuously? One less tank to worry about. But here's the dirty little secret. When you leave that valve open, you're creating a direct line for sewer gases, and you're silently building up a sludge nightmare. Let's break it down. Your gray tank collects water from your sinks and shower. That water contains food particles, soap scum, hair, grease, even toothpaste grit. If it trickles out slowly over time with the valve open, it never gets a chance to build pressure or flow strong enough to flush the solids out of the tank. The result? A thick, stinky sludge coating the bottom of your gray tank that gets nastier with every trip. One RVer shared how they left their gray valve open for 2 weeks at a full hookup resort. By the end, their tank sensors were stuck. The drain smelled like a rotten swamp, and the tank wouldn't fully empty, even when they closed the valve and tried to do a proper dump. They had to hire a mobile tank flushing service. The bill? $240, not including the sensor replacement. And there's a second problem. Open gray valves let in sewer gas. You might notice a faint smell at first, but give it a few days, and that smell works its way into your RV's vents, your bathroom, your kitchen, even your bedding. The fix? Easy. Keep the gray valve closed until the tank is about 2/3 full, then open it for a powerful flushing dump. This helps clear solids, keeps odors down, and protects your sensors from false readings. Because the next mistake, it involves your brakes. And it's something too many RV owners forget until it's way too late. At number 7, we're talking about a mistake that can make the difference between a smooth stop and a total wreck. It's forgetting to adjust your trailer brake gain after loading up your RV. And this one is sneaky because your rig might feel just fine until you hit a downhill grade or need to stop in a hurry. Trailer brake controllers let you dial in the amount of force your trailer's brakes apply relative to your vehicle's. Too little gain? The trailer pushes the tow vehicle like a loaded shopping cart on a hill. Too much? The trailer brakes lock up and skid, causing bounce, tire wear, or even a fishtail. And here's the kicker. Most people set their gain once, usually when the trailer is empty or lightly loaded. But once you add water to your tanks, fill the fridge, throw bikes on the back, load up the gear, the weight changes dramatically. That means your original brake setting no longer matches the real stopping needs of your rig. One RVer shared how they took off down a Colorado pass with their gains still set from last month's empty haul. This time, the tanks were full, bikes strapped to the back, propane, gear, you name it. Halfway down the grade, the trailer began to push their truck. The brakes smoked. The truck brakes overheated. By the time they reached the bottom, they had warped rotors and a trailer with bald tires, all because of one overlooked knob. The fix? Simple. Retest your brake gain every time you reload your RV. Use the manual brake slider at low speed, like 15 miles per hour in an empty parking lot. If the trailer stops itself without jerking or pulling, you're good. If it's too slow or locks up, adjust accordingly. Most brake controllers let you tweak on the fly, because the next mistake, it's a seasonal blind spot, and forgetting it could lead to burst pipes, flooding, and thousands in damage before your first spring trip even starts. At number 6, we're talking about a mistake that's seasonal, but financially brutal. It's skipping proper winterization or trusting the wrong method to get it done. And every year, thousands of RV owners walk straight into this trap thinking, it won't get that cold, or I'll do it later, or worse. I watched a 5-minute video. It's fine. Let's be clear. Water expands when it freezes. If even a few ounces of water remain in your RV's pipes, water heater, or pump during a freeze, it will expand, crack the plumbing, and turn into a full-blown flood once things thaw out. That means torn lines, broken fittings, leaking tanks, and sometimes damage deep inside the walls where you can't even see it. One RV couple stored their rig in Tennessee thinking the southern weather would protect them, but a surprise cold snap hit. By spring, they hooked up to water and immediately heard dripping under the sink. The water heater tank had cracked from the inside. The pump wouldn't prime. When they opened the wall, they found a cracked PEX elbow and mold starting to form. Repairs, over $3,800. Even if you try to winterize, many first-timers make a critical error, blowing out the lines with air, but not adding RV antifreeze. That method alone might leave low spots and valves unprotected. And if you forget to bypass your water heater before adding antifreeze, you just filled a 6-gallon tank with chemicals you'll need to flush out later, wasting time and water. The fix? Either learn proper full winterization, step by step, blow out the lines, bypass the heater, and add antifreeze to every water source, or have a certified RV tech do it. It's a $100 to $150 service that can save you thousands. And don't forget, even if you live in a warm state, freak freezes can and do happen. Because the next mistake? It's not about cold, it's about heat. And ignoring this one can melt wiring, warp cabinets, and turn your RV into an accidental oven. At number 5, we're diving into a mistake that feels warm, comforting, even homey, but can quietly shorten your RV's lifespan from the inside out. It's not venting heat properly while cooking indoors, and this one affects everything from your air quality to your cabinetry to your wiring. Here's the problem. RVs are built for efficiency, not ventilation. That means every time you boil water, fry bacon, or run your stove for more than a few minutes without proper airflow, you're saturating your rig with heat and moisture. And over time, that takes a serious toll. Moisture builds up on windows, walls, and ceiling panels. That leads to condensation, which invites mold, mildew, and even soft spots in the wood framing. Heat rises and gets trapped near the roof, warping cabinets and overstressing ceiling-mounted electronics like fans, lights, and AC units. One RV owner shared that after a single winter trip cooking chili on the stovetop every night, they started noticing their overhead cabinet doors wouldn't close properly. The veneer had warped. The vent fan, never turned on, had fried from repeated steam exposure. The ceiling around the microwave even started to bubble. It all traced back to a lack of airflow. And if you're using propane inside for stovetop cooking without venting, that's not just bad for moisture, it's a carbon monoxide hazard. Without fresh air, those invisible fumes can collect fast. Even if you don't feel it right away, low-level exposure can cause headaches, fatigue, and long-term health issues. The fix? Always run your range hood fan or ceiling vent while cooking. Crack a window, even in winter. And if you're boondocking and trying to conserve battery, cook outside when possible. Many RVers keep a portable propane grill or induction plate for exactly this reason. Because the next mistake? It's deceptively high-tech, and pressing one wrong touchscreen button could wreck your leveling jacks permanently. At number 4, we're zeroing in on a mistake that sounds advanced, feels high-tech, and lulls new RV owners into a false sense of security. It's trusting your auto-leveling system without doing any manual checks. And while these systems are engineered to make life easier, one wrong input, or a slightly uneven surface, can twist your rig out of shape before you even step inside. Here's what many owners forget. Auto-level systems rely entirely on sensors. Those sensors can be thrown off by debris under a tire, a misread from a slope, or even a simple software glitch. Press the button and walk away, and you might come back to find your rig tilted, one jack fully extended and straining, or even one wheel off the ground. One owner parked at a new site, hit auto level, and stepped out to admire the view. But the ground was soft under the rear jacks. Instead of leveling, the rear dug in while the front lifted. The slide out went crooked. The entry steps wouldn't align. A $90,000 fifth wheel, now sitting visibly torqued on unstable jacks. The result? Bent frame supports and a trip to a service center 200 miles away. Auto level is not a fire and forget system. Always start by manually inspecting the site. Check for soft ground, rocks, slopes, and tire position. Use a handheld bubble level or even an app to confirm your base starting point. Only then should you activate the auto level. And always keep an eye on the process. If a jack extends too far or struggles, stop and reevaluate. And here's another tip. Never deploy slide outs until the RV is fully leveled. Trying to auto level with slides out adds weight and imbalance to the sensors and can destroy your leveling system's calibration over time. Because the next mistake? It starts with an empty tank, but ends with a nasty surprise bubbling back up into your shower drain. At number 3, we're exposing a mistake that feels small, harmless even, but can turn your cozy RV bathroom into the worst scene you'll ever experience on the road. It's forgetting to close your black tank flush valve after rinsing out the system. And if you've never made this mistake, you'll definitely want to keep it that way. Here's how it usually goes. You finish dumping your black tank, everything looks clean. You hook up the flush hose to rinse it out, a great habit by the way, but then something distracts you. A conversation, a phone call, dinner, and before you know it, you've left the flush running for 15 minutes, 20 minutes, sometimes even longer, without the dump valve open. What's happening inside your RV? You're slowly filling the black tank back up, but it doesn't stop there. Once it's full, that water pushes back into the vent stack, then up into the toilet, and once it hits the overflow point, it finds the path of least resistance right into your bathroom floor. One full-timer shared their horror story after leaving the black flush on during dinner prep. 25 minutes later, their carbon monoxide detector started beeping, not from gas, but from humidity overload. When they opened the bathroom door, it was like stepping into a sewer. Black water had flooded the toilet base, soaked the vinyl flooring, and even crept into the subfloor insulation. Total cleanup costs? Over $4,000, and that didn't include the smell that lingered for weeks. The fix? Never walk away from a flushing black tank. Stay present. Set a timer. If you need to multitask, use a flush system with an automatic shutoff valve or a pressure regulator that limits flow. And always verify that both the flush hose and dump valve are in the correct position before and after every use. Because the next mistake? It might seem like just a shortcut, but skipping this one step before driving off could leave you stranded with shredded tires and twisted axles. At number 2, we're revealing a mistake that seems too simple to matter, but ignoring it has totaled RVs, flipped trailers, and left families stranded on the side of the highway. It's not checking your tire pressure and lug nut torque before every single trip. Yes, every time. Tires are the foundation of your rig, but they're also the most vulnerable. They're under extreme pressure, carrying thousands of pounds, sitting for days or weeks at a time, and exposed to heat, cold, UV rays, and dry rot. That means even a short delay between drives can cause a pressure drop, or worse, a slow leak you never notice. One family hit the road without checking pressure after a cold snap. 15 miles later, the sidewall blew. The force shredded the RV's underbelly. Sewer lines ripped. The fender exploded into traffic. The trailer jerked sideways, nearly flipping. Luckily, no one was hurt. But the final repair bill? Over $6,800. And it all started with a single underinflated tire. Now let's talk torque. Your wheels don't just stay on. RV manufacturers recommend checking lug nut torque every 50 to 100 miles for new rigs and before every long haul. Why? Because temperature changes, vibration, and even factory errors can cause lug nuts to loosen. If one goes, the others follow, and suddenly you're looking at a runaway wheel on the highway. It's not paranoia, it's physics. The fix? Keep a digital tire gauge and a torque wrench in your toolkit. Set your tire pressures based on weight, not just what's printed on the sidewall. And double-check torque specs for your specific RV wheels, because steel and aluminum require different levels. The whole process takes less than 10 minutes, and it could save your life. Because the next mistake? It's the ultimate false sense of security. And trusting this one system too much could put your entire rig and your family at serious risk. At number 1, we've reached the most costly, most frustrating, and most commonly regretted mistake new RV owners make. And it often happens before they even leave the dealership. It's blindly trusting the RV salesperson's advice, assuming they're guiding you toward what's best for you instead of what's best for their commission. Let's be real. Some RV salespeople are honest and helpful, but many, they're trained closers. They'll smile while pushing you toward a floor plan that's already gotten 5 complaints. They'll downplay the towing capacity. They'll insist this unit tows like a dream, even though your truck is borderline underpowered. They'll assure you the warranty covers everything, when it really only covers select appliances for a limited time with tons of exclusions. One couple shared how their Class C came with an extended service contract. The dealer said covered all major repairs. But when their slide mechanism failed 4 months later, they were stuck with a $1,700 repair bill. Because the problem was classified as wear and tear, the dealer shrugged. The salesperson was long gone, and the couple realized they had trusted someone who vanished the moment the check cleared. This mistake hits hardest because it creates a false sense of security. You drive off thinking everything's handled, that you've got the perfect rig, that you're protected. But reality hits when you find out your black tank doesn't seal properly, your roof wasn't fully sealed, your weight rating was miscalculated, or that you can't actually boondock like they promised because the batteries were undersized. The fix? Do your own homework. Join RV forums. Watch owner reviews, not just dealership walkthroughs. Read the manual. Ask real RVers what they've learned the hard way. And if a salesperson says, "Trust me," that's your cue to double-check everything. Because an informed buyer isn't just safer, they're thousands of dollars ahead. And there you have it. 10 mistakes new RV owners make and instantly regret. If this helped you dodge even one of them, hit that like button and subscribe for more. Watch this next.